So a little while ago, I started work on a video that covers the entire You Don't Know Jack series of video games. Um, I don't know if it's ever gonna come out. We write 1,000 scripts that don't turn into anything. Um, but while I was working on it, I get derailed a lot in this script. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about initially in the video were the game shows, plural, because there was a pilot that did not make it to air as well. Like the televised game shows that were adaptations of the games. But I couldn't really find a good space in the video to talk about it, and also I have more things to say than would be reasonable in one video. I could just turn it into another video and not have to do a whole script. Like, I just have notes here about things I want to talk about, and I prefer to talk unscripted. I don't understand why the game shows don't work because I think it would be easy to make a You Don't Know Jack game show that works correctly. So if you aren't aware, the You Don't Know Jack games, the video game series, is a series released by, well, they're known as Jackbox now, and in the 90s they were known as Jellyvision. The game series started in 1995. It's a trivia. It's specifically set up to emulate the experience of being like on a televised game show. But I'll talk about this. Well, if it comes out, I'll talk about this in the other video. But it's set in a fictional alternate world inside of a fictional alternate Jellyvision studio. It's not as high concept as I'm describing it. It's a trivia game. The shows are adaptations of the games into television. If you can believe it, the first foray into television that the video games underwent was in 2001 on ABC, and it lasted for a whopping 6-episode season as weekly releases, which means it lasted a month. That was only made into a pilot. They didn't get that off the ground at all. And then later on, somebody who worked on the pilot uploaded it to YouTube very recently. And I'm very thankful for their work and for their archival effort, because otherwise, it seems like most people did not know that this even happened to begin with. I have now watched both. I have opinions on both of them, so I'm going to discuss them now. So let's get into things that I didn't really care for with the first one, the one on ABC in 2001. The host, I don't care for him. I don't think Paul Reubens is very funny, but he's certainly not funny in the format of the games. He doesn't have the right energy for it. He doesn't have the right personality to be playing the character that he's playing, and it doesn't work. He's also far too present in the episodes. I understand that it works for the hosts to be extremely present in the video games because the video games are constantly interactive, but from an audience perspective, just watching a game show on TV, it's not entertaining. It's not entertaining just to just watch it all be this one slightly unfunny guy. So I don't like him. He's already not entertaining, and there's just too much of him. Problem number 2 that I have is that it's just not gripping. I know this is crazy to say about a game show, but I actually do like game shows. They're the only things on TV I watch. The You Don't Know Jack 2001 6-episode television show just does not hit the mark, if you can believe it. The winnings in this game are incredibly low. The prizes, I understand they're supposed to be comedic, but it comes across as cheap when you can't even afford like a losing prize or a consolation prize. I guess if you're just playing some kind of ragtag bullshit game, you don't really expect to be paid out the ass. But this was 2001 on ABC. It's not that the economy was doing great. but it still does come across as a little bit backwater, a little bit this production is being run out of a storage unit. A good example of this is the $2 million question gimmick. They start a question at $2 million that goes down every second, and then it takes Troy a stupidly long amount of time to answer the question. And this is comedic. Like, I get it's supposed to be funny, but this is also mostly riffing off of the gibberish question in the video games. And the gibberish question, the time limit on it is player controlled. So the amount of money that you lose from the timer going down is your own fault. It starts counting after the question is asked and stops when you're typing. It's not that I think the game has to be fair necessarily, or that, like, I don't think it was a funny joke. It's that I don't think it works when you're already kind of not giving the players an incentive to play the game. Players don't have a lot of incentive to be on the show. The audience doesn't have a lot of incentive to watch. They also really ham up the audience. Like, they all seem paid to be there. And so there's no real authenticity to it. I know, again, that's insane to say about a game show, but I think this format thrives on the illusion of authenticity, and it doesn't come through on a televised adaptation of this video game. It just looks kind of cheesy. It's also just overwhelming. There's too much happening in the show. It startlingly resembles that one part of Deltarune where it starts to feel like a manic episode and everybody's just like bored and tired and sad and they want to go home. The whole thing feels like that. When you're watching it, nobody seems like they really want to be there. And it's just too much. Everything's too much. There's lighting everywhere. It's loud, it's bombastic, but not in a fun way. And if they want to have an energy that high from start to finish in a 30-minute episode, I feel like it needs to be paced better and not just like, I don't know, there's this lurching momentum to the show that I think just doesn't work well. I think a big part of the issue is the fact that they keep stopping the game show episode in order to do bits. That's definitely not helping. I don't know, the pacing's weird. The weird pacing with the incredibly high energy creates an exhausting environment. The show is a little bit tiring. Also, it's just, I have them underlined in my notes. Paul Rubens is just not funny. He's not funny. On top of the fact that the show keeps lurching to a halt to do bits, they're not funny bits. So by the time you're done with it, it feels pointless. It's fucking ridiculous. Stop doing that. God, at one point they have the audience do the wave in response to the 2 million question. Why would you have the audience do the wave? This is a tiny studio. You can see the start to the end of this audience. And you have these people doing the waves. And then they zoom in on the audience's faces like it's AFV. Why are they doing this? The humor is not funny, partially because of Paul Rubens. I don't want to rag too much on him, though, because it's also 2001. And 2001 humor is just not funny. In one of the episodes, they make fun of a black woman's name. So this is why America got terrorist attacked. It's not... The comedy not only is not funny, but it doesn't resemble You Don't Know Jack comedy. It's more like, I don't know, juvenile and random. This is an issue I have with the 2011 game as well, because it also... kind of veers off into this territory. I think in way of trying not to be as edgy as the 90s games were, I think you can just have the humor carry the same emotive quality without it being actively offensive. Does that make sense? It's clearly toned down more for ABC audiences, but the issue with it is that now it's just kind of, again, this is just the 2001 equivalent of lol random humor. It's not very funny. Comparatively, the second show gets the humor a lot better. It's snarkier, slower paced. There's more comedy and implication and social interaction than like physical gags, which I like. It's not funny. There's too much of it. The game is just kind of boring to watch, and it's cheesy. And that was all 6 episodes of the show. You don't need to go watch it now, because I just described it to you. The problem with show 2, I did say that they get the humor better because it's more, like, subdued. The show is maybe a little too subdued for my American brain. Uh, it is a British show. British television is markedly more quiet. Lots of Americans comment on this. It's not nearly as wild and all over the place and in your face as American television is. I think very few things are. Even then, it's just, I don't know, not particularly entertaining. There's still the issue of, like, there's just not enough that the players are doing, especially with the variety of questions. The contestants also aren't great in this pilot. I understand it's a pilot episode, so, you know, it is what it is. It's neither here nor there. They're not bright, nor are they interesting. There's also a weird thing about this show. They include the segues. Like, they include the question segues, which I think is cool. They have a live band playing the question segues. But, why? You know? Like, I understand why that happens in the video games. Why have it in the game show? It feels padded in the televised format. And you shouldn't... You're paying a whole live band every episode to do the question segues when you could just press play on a computer? Why? Just press play on a computer. It's fine. No one's gonna get mad at you. Also, if you're going to do the question segues, they should be, like, truncated. Don't do the full thing. You don't have to have the full jingle in there. I understand why the games do it, but those are video games and this is television. Problems I have with both, they're just too fucking mean. I know, again, this is crazy to say about a You Don't Know Jack adaptation because the games are mean, but the game shows are meaner than the games are. I don't think it creates a strange imbalance of power when the host gets to come on and just berate the players to their faces as the audience watches. In the video game format, this is different because, first of all, there's that constant level of interactivity, and second of all, interaction with the host is pre-scripted and minimal, frankly. So, I mean, the gimmick of the games is that they're ribbing on you, but they don't actually rib on you that much. Go back and play around. They're not that mean. The shows just are, and it's uncomfortable to watch. It's uncomfortable to watch a guy come stand up on stage and berate people for 30 minutes and then leave. That's not entertaining. And I doubt it's entertaining when you go on the show and do something like that. I have an idea of how you can include the, like, playfully mean-spirited nature of the games without it just being workplace harassment. And I'll get into that later. I have an issue with the fact that they have special question formats in the game, but they don't change the gameplay like they do in the computer games. But when you're at a computer, you expect to just be sitting at the computer pressing a button the whole time. So, yeah, if they change up the gameplay, then that's necessarily just changing the way that you interact with this one button. But on a televised game show, to have all these mini games and to still just have the contestants pressing buzzers makes me feel like, well, this just could have been a question, like a normal trivia question, and it didn't need to be a this or that. Like, I don't know, go and watch one of these episodes and tell me if you find the this or that riveting television, either of these shows, because it's not. You're just watching people press a button, and that's not very interesting. There are things that I think both the shows do right. The first thing that I think is correct in any of them is I like at least the 2001 show is exciting. Like, there's definitely too much going on, but it being kind of like high energy wouldn't necessarily be such an issue if it were paced correctly. And so I don't think I have that big an issue with that. As for the UK pilot, the humor definitely does do the trick for me. Its pacing is a great deal less stilted, but its host is also better. He's a better host. I like the idea of having the host be a character. I think that in concept works, obviously, or else they wouldn't be doing it for the games. In the format of a televised game show, the host really should be taking a backseat to the effort of the players. And Troy certainly doesn't do this. But this does happen in the UK pilot, and I give it a lot of credence for that. Because it manages to balance that kind of interaction between the players and the host, while still keeping the meanness in there, for lack of a better word. The UK game show also has screws. You have screws in the UK game show. That's good. I think the screws are a fun gimmick, and I think they are a fun gimmick to implement in televised game shows. I have ideas for how you could do it more interestingly, but I like the screws. So if it were up to me, here's what I would do. First of all, to set some ground rules, in my hypothetical adaptation of the games into a television show, we have infinite budget but low starting viewership. The goal is to get a lot of viewership and maintain a lot of viewership by any purchasable means for a show with an infinite budget. For this reason, I think if we are going to start adapting the show, it needs to capture the fan base audience first. This is a big issue that the 2001 show had. They did not market it very well, and so people who were fans of the games didn't know that it existed up until it was too late. The games have a fan base. It's one of the oldest surviving online game fan bases I've ever seen. The fact that you can go back and find people in the early 2000s to the late 90s talking about these games with a fanatic attitude is very impressive. It's impressive to keep a fan base for as long as these games have. And because you have so many people that dedicated, you have people who are going to be a guaranteed audience for the show so long as you don't alienate them. That's another big thing. If we're going with this hypothetical, we want to try not to alienate people who were already fans of the video games, so we're not going to stray off too far from the beaten path when it comes to the format. We want to lock down that initial audience, so the very first thing I would do is just market it to fans first. If you have to just like give people a teaser, then do that. The fans of the games do need to be the first people to know that there is an up-and-coming adaptation, or else you're going to miss out on that initial viewership. You can't just appeal to fans, though, so we do also need to find a way to make it entertaining to watch for literally everybody else, people who wouldn't normally go or play the video games. It needs to be funny, but it can't love the smell of its own farts, you know? Like, it has to be effortlessly funny. Comedy that is good feels natural, like it comes from nowhere, basically. And so if you stop the whole game to do a bit 100 times, it's not gonna be funny. It doesn't come across as funny. So we're not gonna do that. We're gonna try and find a way to integrate energy, comedy, spontaneity, whatever else, into the game without it coming across as stilted. Kind of a complaint that I have. Can we just limit the toilet humor? It's not that funny. We can say poopy butt fart like a couple times. That's it. The sex jokes are okay, though. You can keep the sex jokes in there. Another thing I think is going to be interesting is, well, in this hypothetical, we're also doing it present day, which means we need to account for the fact that most new adults, like young viewership, is not going to be watching television. I would say this probably needs to be streamed, because I think the most successful new game shows I've seen have been the dropout ones that are like exclusive to their streaming service. This needs to be on a streaming service. I don't think it needs to be on an exclusive one, because what else would we even show? But I think putting it on television and keeping it to television alone is a bad idea. I think it needs to be on a streaming service. I need to stress that another big thing, like Gen Z viewers, is that we were raised on the internet, which means we're easily bored, which means you have to do something to keep our attention. What I'm thinking is you could have something interesting happen every single episode. No formulaic nonsense. Something genuinely interesting has to happen every episode. Either it's forced or happens in the heat of the moment, but something needs to happen every episode that people can clip and put on the internet. I'm just going to be honest with you. Better prizes. We need better prizes. We need better dollar values. It needs to be important that you get on the show. I don't understand what's so hard about this. You need to have actual prizes. And it needs to focus on the contestants. Game shows are about the contestants. We can have there be less explicit attention drawn to the contestants in a computer party video game because you're sitting right next to the person you're playing with and you're playing it. So of course it's about the contestants. The whole thing's about you, right? But if you're watching a game show as an audience member and there's no focus on the contestants of the game show, then there's no reason to watch it. Because the only reason people watch game shows is to watch people win them. So that needs to happen. One big thing I really think should happen is I think it should be a variety game show. I think it should be trivia, first of all, but if you're going to include the variety of questions that change gameplay within the PC games, then I want those questions equivalent to television to change the gameplay for the players in real life. Get people away from the fucking podiums for once. If you want to maintain the bombastic energy of the 2001 show, then you need to get people away from the button and doing something, doing anything. I think this is what makes Family Feud a little boring after the first 5 episodes you watch in your life. To be clear, there are shows that have been on for a while that I think struggle with this. And I don't want my hypothetical television show that isn't going to exist and I'm not working on to struggle the same way. So let's break this down. First things first, we're going to start with the host, because that was the first complaint I had about the 2001 show. Just stop it. Just stop it, okay? Stop everything you're doing right now. We're going to build this from the ground up. The host cannot be a dick. Playfully mean, please. By all means, but not an asshole, or else it creates a really uncomfortable environment to watch. I'm not comfortable watching these people. They look like they're being held at gunpoint. My solution to this would be to just limit the tearing into people, okay? Have it be relative to how bad they're doing at the game, or there's a couple of really good bits in the UK pilot where a contestant will do something just patently strange and that gets a reaction. That I think is warranted and I think makes for a good flow of comedy. I don't want to watch the host swagger onto the stage and be like, "What's up, you stupid jackasses?" Why would I want to watch that? Don't make the host the primary focus of the show. This is so egregious in the 2001 show. I'm sorry, I really can't get off of it. It's obnoxious. At one point, Troy literally says, "I'll be right back," instead of "we'll be right back. Troy, I don't give a fuck about you. It's really annoying. It's really obnoxious. It gets on your nerves extremely fast. There's just too much. There's too much focus on the host in the 2001 show. We're not going to do that here. The host can be a wild, bombastic personality. I think a larger than life personality works well for a game like this, but the host has to take a back seat to the actual fucking gameplay. By the time the game has started, it's not about the host anymore. Stop it. And for the love of God, if you're going to hire a comedian, Please, please, please have it be someone whose energy can match the fucking energy of the show. Paul Rubens was awkward as fuck in this role. He stares at you like Kate Bush. He's scared. He looks scared. Stop it. Have somebody on the show who like can carry the energy from start to finish. There are comedians out there who are really, really high energy. Hire someone like that if you're going to hire somebody who can do spontaneous comedy. Otherwise just kill me. My ideal host for a televised version of the show would be somebody who can get catty with the players, but is also genuinely happy if they win and shows a bit of commiseration if they lose. Because that's the common format. That's what's expected. And it's good social etiquette. I don't think people realize having social etiquette matters in the context even of scripted television. It's a complicated dance between two people, and if you're watching it as a human being, watching two human beings interact, there's a level of connection there that you can't fuck up, or else it's gonna seem weird or off or uncanny. So, the game itself. I'm going to be honest with you. I want to bump this up to 4 contestants. Both of the game shows I'm talking about had 3 contestants per episode. Well, the UK one only had the 1 episode, but still, that's 3 contestants. I want to bump this up to 4. I think a lot of my ideas work better with 4 contestants. And I don't think that the game suffers at all with 4 players. The video games don't even suffer going up to 8. Put a 4th player in there. I think it works better with 4. You can start off with the introductions. Of course, they start off with the introductions. Introduce the players, where they're from, their name. Have them give you an anecdote. I think the podiums should be standing podiums if the contestants can stand. The sit-down ones in the 2001 show just kind of limits them to that one tiny corner of the stage. And it doesn't make for very interesting camera work. Which, again, you might not think matters much, but it does. The 2001 show goes into its gimmick questions too early. Like on the last episode, they get into the dis or dat on question 2. That's a little early. I think we should establish the format with about 3 questions first, and then move on into the gimmicks. I think there should still be 2 rounds. I want to have the questions still be worth double on the second round, and I think it raises the stakes adequately for a second round of a game. The big changes I would make start with the actual gimmick part of the show. Have the screws included, by all means. But, and this is something that I don't actually like very much in the video games, but I think would work really well as, like, entertaining television. Have the screws do more than just force the player to answer. In the video games, after a few entries, they started introducing screws that do more, like, instead of just forcing you to answer, they force you to answer under some kind of duress or a bad situation. They screw you. That's the point. I don't like this as much in the video games because I think it just kind of isn't very fun. In physical space, I think there's a lot more you can do with it. Like, in my head, I imagine if you were to screw a player, maybe they could all stand on, like, hydraulic systems individual to their podiums so that they could move or something, or the surrounding environment would somehow change in a way that would make it difficult for them to answer while they are answering. Something like that. Getting into the specific, like, gimmicky question types, the dis or dat needs to change. It needs to change. It doesn't make for compelling television in either of the versions of the game show I've seen. Yes, I understand in the game, like the video game, you're just pressing the button still, but you expect to be pressing the button the whole time because you're playing a video game. On TV, though, I don't feel like there's a reason for this to be the way that it is. And so my idea, this doesn't have to be it, but my idea is, what if Dis or Dat were like a sorting game? Like, people had to physically sort the answers one way or the other. That would be fun. That would be interesting to watch. There are plenty of ways, I think, to utilize the physical shared space of a game show stage to make more interesting and compelling challenges for the players to do. For instance, you could do something like bring bingo back. You remember bingo, the mini game from the ride? You could do that. In my notes, I imagined something where like there's letters on the floor and players have to stand on the assigned letter before a very short timer runs out per prompt. The bug mini game in Fifth Dementia comes to mind. You could have a big screen and have them have like swatter remotes that they swat the bugs with. That could be cool. It'd be interesting to watch too. You'd get a lot of really good action shots from it. In my notes here, I say try something that gets all of the players involved so that they have to interact directly as competitors. I'm thinking something like a mini game where all players have to agree on an answer, but each player has the option to try and trick everybody else. If everybody agrees on one thing, they all win. If one player gets away with tricking everyone else into an answer they know is wrong, that player wins. If they can't agree or a player fails to trick even one person, nobody wins. That's just an idea. That's just a way that this can be expanded upon to make for something that better, I think, suits an audience watching. Another fun idea I have is you could roll the collect calls and the guest host questions into one thing. Like I had an idea in my notes where you could just go up on the street, show them doing this if you're going to, like cut to video of someone doing this, please, if you're going to do this. Have them like ask someone random, hey, can you come into the show? We'll fly you in. And ask a question based on something you do for a living. And I think that would work. And I think that would make it more participatory. Here in my notes I have just once. If it ever happens, you can have a pissed about a question. I agree with that, just once. I do think if you're going to have this mini game gimmick question types, they should randomize per episode. It should not just be the same formula of which ones you're going to get each episode. I think this makes it more interesting for the audience and for people like who have to sign up to physically be on the game show, because it provides more variety both for viewers and for people going in. I think if you're going to limit it to 3 players, you shouldn't eliminate the lowest player by the end. I think they're doing a Jeopardy and they don't have to. Why are you eliminating a player? Like, I get from a monetary standpoint, but again, in this hypothetical, we have infinite budget, so we're not going to eliminate a player, because that kind of kills the momentum. There's just 2 people. That's, I don't know, kind of boring. I think if you're going to have 4 contestants, you might be able to eliminate someone, but I still don't think you should. The losing player should walk away with something. There's no incentive to play if you don't get anything out of it. Why would you not give the losing players anything? Like an actual consolation prize. And don't cart them off the stage. Don't shuffle them off the stage. Have you seen the first episode of the 2001 show where they drag this guy off the stage? That's embarrassing. I feel bad for him. Don't do that. If you ask me, I think that huge celebration stage at the end of the 2001 show to end each episode is good. It works well. Having everyone come out and congratulate everyone is nice. It works well in fucking Family Feud, too. And it works well in, like, Wheel of Fortune, stuff like that. Price is Right, so on. So, yeah, have that happen. But one thing I think you should do is I think you should keep the players on the stage, even if they lost, to celebrate. Because it's a game where you go to play. So it should be fun. It should be fun to watch. If you're going to end the shows on you don't know Jack, if you're going to have that last word be you don't know Jack, which I think you should, don't just have the host say it. I want the audience saying it, I want the players saying it, and I want the studio saying it, okay? I'm being serious. I know this seems minor, but it is weird to just have the host say it amongst a sea of cheering. An additional idea I have, the 2001 show, which I know I keep just laying into, but I don't like it, starts off on these skits like it's a stand-up comedy show. I think that's kind of lame, but I do think you could have those pre-show segments. I think a fun way to start it would be to start it backstage, like the games do. The video games do this. That's what like pulled me into the games, was because I watched gameplay of the first game and it started like that. My first thought to myself was, that's adorable. That's the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen. Are you kidding me? And it's cute. It's really cute. It's very endearing. It's very fun. It's one of my favorite parts of the games. I think you should start the show like that. I think you should start it backstage. Like, actually backstage, too, not scripted. If you have to script it a little bit, maybe, but have the people actually be, like, people who work on the show. That's just a lot of fun. It gives the impression in shows that do this, which are mostly, like, talk shows, but in shows that do things like this, it gives the impression that they're fun to work on, which is great. It makes you feel warm. Because I don't know how else I would end this video, I'm gonna go also into what I think you should do if you have to end the show, which you're going to have to eventually. Even if the show gets, like, syndicated, you're gonna have to end it eventually. What I think you could do for the end of the show, somebody has already suggested for a hypothetical new adaptation of the show, an episode that's similar to the 2011 gimmick episode, where everything just kind of breaks down. That's one of the highlight moments of the series, in my opinion. I think it's really fucking funny, but it only works if the format has been extremely clearly established. So that's why I think you should do it at the end of the series, especially because if you're doing it at the end of the series, you have more leeway to fuck with whoever is playing. If it were me, I guess just because I had too sweetie pie about it, I don't know. But then in that case, if you're going to fuck with the players, like do things like that would directly affect their chances of winning, by way of the show just kind of falling apart. Because real money is the consequence, you should just kind of have it be random people. Have it be people who know what they're getting into beforehand. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too sensitive about that, but it feels like it would be tone deaf in the economic situation we're in. I do think a fun joke, speaking of economics, would be if the reason things were going wrong is because they were like losing viewership and everything was breaking down because they were running out of money. That could be a lot of fun. The final amount for the Jack attack could be something extraordinarily exuberant, like all of the money that they have left in this studio, and you could fake bankrupt them by the end. It'd be great. I think that would be good. I do think if you're going to end something like that, you should also have a moment near the end where it gets a little heartfelt. You don't have to be crazy with it, but just like, you know, a little sweet. And that's basically my ideas. If you if you have any questions or comments, please fax them to me at the number posted on screen. I'll get back to you in 3 to 5 business days. Let's make this happen.
Hurry in a hurry, exercise on the low. And I want my sleep, yeah, when I'm ordering delivery. A little sushi while I watch a movie, papaya salad.